All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome. How is it going, you guys? Who do we have in here? Shout out to my mod, Jad. Mark the Shark, what's going on? How's it going? How you guys doing? Nightbot's in the house. Mollywood Kush. Who else do we have? Chris Paul Bossa. Wow. Chris Paul. Man, we went to nursing school together. It's been a while since I've talked to you. So welcome. Thanks for hanging out, man. It's been a minute. Crazy. And the reason why I haven't had a stream in a while is because I've been trying to figure out how to get these chat highlights to work, and I just kind of figured out a back end extension so I can continue to use the streaming platform that I'm using, which is Meld. So, anyways, welcome to Filling in the Gaps. We are just going to be going over a few stories. So if you guys have been living under a rock, thanks, Jad. Don't forget to hit the like. Hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't already, but welcome. Anyways, if you guys have been living under a rock in the past 48 hours, so much has actually gone down regarding the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. And it seems like there has been a really big battle between the LAPD, the medical examiner's office, and mainstream media outlets like TMZ. And there's a lot of disputes about what's going on and what's right and what's wrong and who said what and who said it first. And we're just gonna kind of jump into it, right? So if you guys probably already know, you guys are probably already up to date with everything, but I haven't had an opportunity to come on this whole entire week. I've been working, and shout outs to Mark the Shark in the chat who not miraculously, because it's not a miracle, but it's crazy because he put on a 12-hour stream on, what was it, Sunday, and then yesterday he did an 8-hour stream. So shout out to Mark the Shark for that. Oh, that's the wrong one. Yeah, I got to get used to my little pads. But anyways, we're just going to get right into it. We're going to kind of jump into TMZ's article, and then we're going to kind of talk about what's been going on. So when was this? On the 22nd. So it's the 25th now, right? And I think in my last stream that we talked about how TMZ put out an article. It was a bombshell article, and it basically said that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body was found in a frozen state and the cause of death may never be determined, right? And then when was this? I want to say this took place on the 24th, which was yesterday. The medical examiner put out a report. They put out a little announcement at 10:54 a.m. on Friday. And they said that on Friday, November 21st, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiners Department received a court order initiated by the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, to place a security hold on medical examiner case number 2025-14252, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. No records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death and medical examiner report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. They continue to say the department's mission is to have full transparency with the community by providing information about our cases to empower people to make changes that save lives, said Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Ode Ukbo. Since becoming the medical department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement requests. The practice of security holds is virtually unheard of in other counties, and has not been proven to improve outcomes in the legal system. We are dedicated to serving our community with full transparency. However, the law precludes us from doing so while the court order remains in this case. They continue to say the department previously received a request for a security hold from the LAPD on this case on September 15th, 2025, which was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant the hold. The department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. So for questions about the court order, timeline, and law enforcement investigation into this death, please contact the LAPD. So the medical examiner put out this this statement because people have noticed that when they went to the medical examiner's website to obtain or to check on the status of the toxicology reports for Celeste, they noticed that her name was completely removed. And if you guys have gone to the website, there's a little part all the way down at the bottom that basically states that for security purposes, they will they may place a security hold on all of her documentation and all of her findings. So it's it's not new that they do this. um yeah, so they basically did this, and then we'll kind of jump into another post by the LAPD as to why it took place. But statement came out by TMZ where they had claimed that Celeste had been frozen and that the medical examiner may not be able to find it or determine the cause of death. So we're just going to kind of jump through the timeline. And I want you guys to make sure that if I miss anything, you guys let me know down in the comments, okay? And do me a favor, if you guys haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't. We're gonna talk about some stuff, right? All right, so this was posted yesterday, right? And then yesterday at 5:28 Pacific time, right? The Daily Mail put out an article that read, "Private investigator challenges Celeste Rivas's autopsy bombshell and reveals what he found inside David's freezer." Right? So this came out yesterday. And it said, "A private investigator has disclosed new findings in the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez as LAPD places a hold on the teen's medical records amid a surge of disturbing claims about the condition of her remains. Rivas, who vanished after running away from her Lake Elsinore home in April 2024, was found dead on September 8th. Okay, so we know all of this. Let's kind of skip through this, right? All of you guys here are familiar with the story anyways, right? So over the weekend, anonymous law enforcement sources told TMZ that Rivas's remains had allegedly been frozen, decapitated, and cut into pieces, and that body parts were still partially frozen when they were recovered from the Tesla, which had been sitting in an impound lot for more than 48 hours. The outlet also reported that in a freezer inside Burke's home was large enough to store a body, and speculated how it may have been possible to have stashed Rivas's remains there. But Steve Fisher, a private investigator hired by the singer's landlord to independently review the case, told the Daily Mail that he found no evidence to support such a claim. Now, this was Steve Fisher, right? So Steve Fisher spoke to the Daily Mail, gave them this statement, and he continued to say the freezer still had its shelves installed along with food and beverage items that had clearly been there for months, said Fisher. I also tested key areas of interest in and around the home with luminol and Blue Star to look for blood evidence and did not get any positive results. Fisher then added that he uncovered no evidence to suggest a violent crime had taken place at the rental home, though he previously said that he found a series of strange items that could be used to dispose of a body. And now we know that in previous videos that Steve Fisher had made claims that there were items that belong on a farm, and the internet ran wild and said that there were farm implements and that he had a whole bunch of other stuff, but those items were never opened, right? He said that they were all still in the box. Fisher added that he uncovered no evidence to suggest a violent crime had taken place at the rental home, though he previously said he found a series of strange items that could be used to dispose of a body. LAPD captain and commanding officer of the robbery homicide division, Scott Williams, later spoke out to deny TMZ's reporting. So I think this was one of the articles to come out and dispute the claim that TMZ made about the whole Celeste was found frozen and medical examiners would be unable to find a cause of death, right? LAPD captain and commanding officer of robbery homicide division. I don't know why I can't say that right now. Robbery homicide division, Scott Williams, later spoke out to deny TMZ's reporting. Celeste's body was not frozen. Williams told People magazine she was not decapitated. The whole frozen thing doesn't even make sense. Her body was in the car for weeks. And now we know, our calculations have showed us that she was in the car. Now, if the last date of the Tesla was moved on July 29th and her body was discovered on September the 8th, that is 41 days in the frunk of that Tesla, you guys. 41 days. That's quite a long time, right? Even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in the car, which there is no evidence to suggest that she was, 5 or more weeks in the trunk of a car is sweltering heat in the middle of summer would not have resulted in a partially frozen body being discovered on September 8th. Amid the latest speculation surrounding the death of Rivas, the LAPD had obtained a court order forbidding the LA County Medical Examiner's Office from releasing any details from the girl's autopsy. So, even at this point right now, we're not even able to get our hands on any of the information, right? They put a security hold. They've removed her name from the medical examiner's office website, so we can't get anything, right? Let's see. The hold means that no records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death and the medical examiner's report, can be released until the hold is lifted. In a prepared statement, Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Ode Ukpo appeared to speak out, and then he gets into the whole thing that we just kind of read earlier, right? And then let's see if there's anything else. The medical examiner's office added that the department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. Responding to the announcement, LAPD Captain Mike Bland told the Times that this remains an ongoing investigation and that the purpose of the court order is to ensure the LAPD receives the information before the public does, which makes sense, right? For months, the LAPD has declined to publicly name the singer or anyone else as a suspect in this case, suggesting that they are unsure whether any crime had taken place beyond concealment of a body. However, sources close to the investigation say that Burke is being treated as a suspect internally, and he has been uncooperative with police since the outset. The singer has not issued any public statement about Rivas's death, nor has his prominent Hollywood crisis attorney Blair Burke. A police source told People that Burke, 20 years old, has not been interviewed by detectives, and there is still some uncertainty about what crimes he and any potential accomplices may have committed. They also stated that we're working to determine if her death was a murder or something else, that source said, adding to the time of her death for Rivas has also not yet been confirmed. Springtime is the closest we've come to determining the time of her death, not before then. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot here, huh? Detectives are also investigating whether more than one person may have been involved in the alleged dismemberment and disposal of Rivas's remains, according to TMZ. The outlet said detectives are looking into a trip that Burke made to a remote area of Santa Barbara County in spring 2025 in the middle of the night, where he reportedly spent several hours. Now, I know in other news reports, they have actually mentioned how much time he spent, and I think they had mentioned that there were 2 hours. Or he spent like a total of 2 hours out there. The LAPD has not confirmed any known ties between Rivas and Burke. That's weird because I feel like the internet has, right? But the matter is said to be central to the investigation, with numerous images purporting to show their pair together have emerged online in the last few months. Sources close to the girl told the Daily Mail that the pair were in an illicit relationship and first made contact via social media when Rivas was 11 or 12. The same sources claim to have last heard from the girl in late June or early July, while Fisher claims he has material proving she was still alive as early as January 2nd. Fisher has also been poring over hours of surveillance footage to piece together a timeline of the Black Tesla's final movements and to determine when Rivas may have died. He also told the Daily Mail the footage shows that the car, which was dented and covered in mud, was last moved on July 29th, right? That's what we mentioned earlier. And clearly shows that the face of the driver, whom he has since identified but declined to name. The vehicle was parked at the cross streets of Doheny Place and Bluebird Avenue, and we know now that Bluebird Avenue is the place where the car was picked up and brought to the impound lot in Hollywood. was later towed in early September. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything else that we need to go over. I mean, I feel like everything here has been recycled and said thousands of times already, right? Um, so after this came out, People Magazine put out this exclusive interview from LA Captain reveals what cops saw when Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found dead in David's trunk, and she wasn't frozen, right? So this was the major bombshell that dropped last night. Really quick, let me just kind of go back to the chats really quick and say what's up to everybody that stopped by. Mollywood Kush, what's going on? Oh, look at that. I can see my comments now. I can highlight my comments, you guys. Awesome. Like way back when they were, now she's dead. Let's see. Mark the Shark. What's going on, Mark? Who else do we have? Cindy. Cindy Leanne says she is a minor, still investigating. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect everyone involved to keep their mouths shut. Agree. Tinfoil Tigress. What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Near your neck of the woods, Chris Paul. Where are you at now, Chris? You used to be out in Eagle Rock. Where are you at now? Shout out to Felicia. What's up? What's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. And then Tinfoil said, I feel like the facts in this case have been muddied up by both TMZ and SF Investigates. So who do you think has more accurate information, Tinfoil? Do you think it's TMZ or do you think it's SF Investigates? Because I feel like right now they're kind of both going at it and they're both disputing everything that each other says, right? Mollywood Kush says, hi, I'm scrolling on Twitter too on my phone. Okay. All right. You guys can find me on Twitter too. I think the Nightbot's already put out some information. There you go. Don't forget to follow the channel. Hey, we'll get into that too. We'll go down the timeline of SF Investigates on X and see if there's anything kind of new that he posted. But we'll get into this people.com. They used to be People Magazine. I don't know if do people still buy magazines? Oh, Chris Paul, you're out in Murrieta? That's crazy. My mom's out there in Murrieta. Yeah. Temecula area? That's crazy. I'll probably be out there this weekend. Huntington Beach in a house? Okay, where else is everybody else from? Where's everybody else checking in from? Ah, Felicia, thank you. Oh, what happened? Oh, what's going on? I gotta fix my Nightbot. I apologize, but Felicia said, don't forget to hit the like button. Please subscribe, share. It's free. Absolutely, you guys. I'm not a monetized channel, so if you guys take a look right there, top right-hand corner, I've got a QR code, so you guys can buy me a coffee if you guys want to. You don't have to, right? I'm not telling you have to. But if you'd like to support the channel, you guys can go ahead right there to buy me a coffee. I'd really appreciate it. Tinfoil Tigress said, I find it very sketchy how the LAPD is blocking the autopsy report now that TMZ has said Celeste was frozen and taken apart. Yeah, it's very, very odd, right? I think it's really odd too. But let's get into the LAPD's report for the exclusive report on People Magazine. Right, so it's an exclusive report came out yesterday at 6:53 p.m. LAPD captain reveals what cops saw when Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found dead in David's trunk, and she wasn't frozen, right? So Celeste Rivas Hernandez was 14. Okay, we know this. LAPD captain and commanding officer of Robbery Homicide Division, Scott Williams, tells people exclusively that Rivas was not frozen and was not decapitated as previously reported by local media. Not just local media, but it was first reported by TMZ, right? Celeste's body was not frozen, Williams said. She was not decapitated. The whole frozen thing just doesn't even make sense. I feel like we read this. Did we read this already? Williams continues, even if she had been frozen when she was put in the car, which there's no evidence to suggest that, 5 or more weeks. Okay, we read this earlier. Let's see. Is there anything new? Okay, so according to police sources, the singer had allegedly not been cooperative amid the ongoing investigation. The police source added that no criminal charges have been filed. The LAPD D4VD's lawyer and a rep for the singer didn't immediately respond to previously contacted by people. The singer's representative previously told NBC Los Angeles that his client was fully cooperating with authorities, but we found out that that was a lie. There was no cooperation since her body has been identified, if I'm not mistaken. In September, investigators with the LAPD served a search warrant in connection with Rivas's death at a home in Hollywood Hills, where the singer was staying. Law enforcement sources previously told people the teen's cause and manner of death remains unclear. Now, okay, an ad. On Monday, November 24th, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner announced that they received a court order initiated by the LAPD to place a security hold on Rivas Hernandez's case. The medical examiner said in a statement to People, no records or details associated with the case. Okay, so this I feel was the big article that dropped, and all outlets started running with this. And then I think right after I was sent this article, which kind of sums up everything that was going on in here, right? And I think previously, let me see, SF Investigates, we'll go to him. And I know that he posted something earlier. And so when TMZ came out and put out the video or the article that she was frozen, we know that SF Investigates put up this meme and said that somebody was wrong, right? And nobody could understand who he was alluding to. And then, when was this? Same day, few hours later, and I feel like SF Investigates was just on a roll when he was trolling everybody. But he basically put out a tweet that said, watching a rag tabloid get trolled would be hilarious under almost any circumstances besides at the expense of a teenager. Then he posted more stuff. Let's see. And then over the weekend, it seems like he got into a back and forth with Matt Thibodeau. Matt Thibodeau is another TikToker or another creator who posts a lot of true crime stories and updates on TikTok. So go check him out if you guys want to get a lot of your information. But he also looks like he's been going back and forth with this Tom Thibodeau. And it has to do with apparently Matt Thibodeau was saying that that SF Investigates was giving out sensitive information to minors, and he had potentially had them sign NDAs. And so they've been kind of going back and forth. So he said, yes, this is absolutely true, except for the minor's part. Matt never gets his information correct. I am an investigator, and I form relationships with informants just like every other investigator in the world. But that is not something you would understand. How do you think investigators get information? And for the record, they range from 22 years old at the youngest to 29 years old. I know you went to the Bullhorn Betty School of Journalism, but facts do matter. Let me be very clear. Yes, they gave me information, and when something they provide is important, I share confidential details that will help connect the dots. That is how cases get solved, man. So congratulations on exposing, quote unquote, exposing me for being an investigator. It is literally in my bio. And then he went on to tweet. This was on the 23rd. So this was on what? That was on Sunday. Oops. He said, if anyone wants to watch a complete meltdown happen in real time from a weirdo that stalks my every move, go check out Matt. Really weird, but I don't know why he had to include him on there. Same night, and I think this was when did he post this? He posted this at 6:46 p.m. So this was right around when the People magazine article came out. He said, I'm not going to use anyone's name, but it will probably be obvious what I'm referring to. If that violates anything and someone feels that I need to be arrested, then honestly, being locked up without a phone and a computer sounds like a dream vacation right now. So that's totally fine with me. Now, freezing a body completely halts the decomposition process. It freezes the liquid inside the tissues and prevents bacteria from spreading, which is required for decomposition. There are people on Mount Everest who have been above ground for decades and are still preserved. Morgues use refrigeration to slow down decomposition for this exact reason. Saying a pathologist cannot make a determination because a body was frozen is completely out of touch with basic science. A medical examiner would prefer for a body to be immediately frozen because it becomes a time capsule. Medical students train for surgery on cadavers. Yes, that's true. Bodies are routinely frozen and thawed for education and surgical training. I screenshotted and attached messages from two medical professionals discussing the process of moving a body from a -4-degree freezer into a 39-degree refrigerator, and the body was fully thawed out in 4 days. Another professional notes that a fully deep frozen body will thaw in 48 to 72 hours when done in a controlled setting, not in a hot frunk. So, how could a body still be partially frozen after sitting in a frunk for months? And Gold Digger, right? You've mentioned that it was a total of 41 days. Hold on one second. Let me take a look at something really quick because I feel like my Nightbot is like deleting messages left and right. So I am going to turn that off really quick. And then we're going to get back and see if that helps. Mollywood Kush, and I do apologize about that, you guys. But Gold Digger, hey there, hey there. Won't let me show it. What's going on? I got to fix this Nightbot. I'm not liking that. My bad. Don't pay attention to the Nightbot. It's tripping right now. Tinfoil Tigress, I just hope this does not end up getting covered like the Kanika Jenkins case. Yeah. Mollywood Kush says he also prefers Matt. Oh, yeah. No, we'll get into that. That $1 million to prove that he said, and Matt won't bite. Gold Digger, Gold Digger. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, let's finish this up and then we can move on. So, if you want to change the timeline now, fine. Let us say a body was placed there on a day that the parking enforcement officers first ticketed the vehicle. We know that from tire chalking that the car has never been moved, that is 13 to 14 days before the body was found in the Tesla frunk. And people actually believe TMZ when they say the body was still partially frozen when it arrived at the medical examiner's office. What the actual F? Now, right now, the choice is between science and TMZ, and it is shocking how many people are choosing TMZ. This is the same outlet that published breaking news today saying that the house on Doheny has a refrigerator and freezer in the kitchen, an appliance that every house has. We'll get into that article too, right? Because TMZ did put out an article that basically was like, police are looking at a freezer, right? And I don't know. I think Reddit went wild when that article was posted. And then he continues to share a screenshot of some studies of people putting out information, right? So, for example, if you wish to dissect superficial structures such as cutaneous nerves or SMAs, I don't know what SMAs are, for facelifting, 24 hours will be okay. But if you wish to thaw all the tissue deep inside of the specimen, 48 to 72 hours. For anyone who finds this later, we transferred one of our specimens from a -20 centigrade freezer or Celsius freezer into a +4 Celsius large refrigerated room, i.e., the sub-zero temp of the specimen was not decreasing the ambient temp, and implanted a temperature probe 2 inches deep. Upon implant, the probe read -17 degrees, and after 4 days, the probe read 0 degrees, and the tissue was very noticeably thawed. It's likely the deeper tissue was still frozen, but it's doubtful that it will take more than a day or two for the specimen to be completely thawed out. Della Dang, welcome. No, Gold Digger, you do not have to smooth off. No, you're good. You're good. Don't listen to Nightbot. Nightbot is taking a nap right now. So if it continues to trip, we're gonna find something else because no. I apologize about that. yeah, Nightbot, and this is the first time that we've launched Nightbot too. So there's a few things that we gotta to fix in the background. Sorry, y'all. So what do you guys think about SF Investigates? Do you think that he's in the right position to come out and call TMZ out for all of these uh what people are saying bogus claims, right? And then today, I want to say this was probably around 10 o'clock in the morning. I think. Let's see. Let's see what time it actually was when they posted it. So TMZ had posted, 10:17 a.m. And soon after this report came out, and it said the medical examiner sources dispute LAPD's claim that the body was frozen. So let's go over to the TMZ article. This was actually the article that they had put out on the 23rd, where it said David, the house D4VD rented, had a freezer. The cops focus on the storage of Celeste Rivas's body. So they continued to speculate and say that a suspect is presumed in the homicide, had a freezer large enough to store a body. Relevant fact, since her body had apparently been frozen for months. And then what they did was they posted a picture and they pointed to this freezer, right? Basically, they were saying that the freezer is large enough to store a body. It's this big and that big, and it can go down to this temperature, so it's suitable, right? Celeste was 5'3", 120 pounds. We know that when she was discovered in the frunk, she only weighed 71 pounds. Now, is it possible that if she was dismembered, she could have been placed in this freezer? Yeah, 100% possible, right? But is it likely that she was stuffed in this freezer? I mean, they're pointing at this particular freezer right here. Um, did they not store food in this freezer? I mean, I don't know if this is this looks like a dishwasher right here. This might put. I don't know if this is like a one of those fancy automated trash cans. Um, but I don't know. There's absolutely no way, and that's why SF Investigates came out and put that tweet out, and said that he'd gone through the house, he'd looked at the shelves, and the shelves were still intact. Food was on there that had been sitting there for months. So he's debunking the claim that the body was stored in the freezer, right? But also, how can a body that was placed in the frunk of a Tesla on July 29th and then discovered 41 days later on September 8th still be partially frozen? Now, that body sat in the frunk. Celeste's body sat in the frunk all throughout August, right? And August is one of the hottest months of the year out here in Los Angeles. So there is absolutely no way that she could have still been partially frozen, right? So they came out with this article yesterday, and I need to find where's the article from the medical examiner's office today. Let's find it because no, this is the medical examiner's office. Actually, it's right here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Hold on, I have it here somewhere. LAPD put out a statement today, and this is what they stated. Hold on. We're gonna read this. So LAPD came out today. I don't know what time this was at. This is probably sometime in the evening. This probably happened around 5 p.m. this evening. So Robbery Homicide Division put out a statement on the Celeste Rivas investigation. They stated the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, is aware of the recent stories posted by various media outlets about the D4VD Celeste Rivas investigation and would like to dispel some misinformation contained in their reporting. The body of Celeste Rivas was not frozen. When it was discovered on September 8th, 2025, she had not been decapitated. We have evidence that David traveled to the Santa Barbara area sometime during the spring of 2025. The reason for that trip is still under investigation, and we've drawn no conclusions at this point about the relevance of the trip to this case. As far as the court order, the LAPD sought to seal the records of the LA County Medical Examiner's investigation into Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death. The order was sought only to ensure detectives from Robbery Homicide Division learned of important information surrounding her death before the media and the public. The order was not sought to undermine transparency, which was reported by the doctor of the medical examiner's office that we reviewed earlier. No other information will be provided at this time. Now, this was posted earlier today, right? But this morning, where's that TMZ article? We need to find that TMZ article. Hold on one second. We're going to find that TMZ article because TMZ dropped an article this morning and they doubled down on what claims that they made the other day and said that their sources are not only confirming, but here, let's just play the video and we'll watch this. I want you guys to tell me what you guys think. Is it opening? Hold on, let's see.
So the captain at LAPD has said our story about Celeste Rivas's body being partially frozen was incorrect, that the body had not been frozen. So we went back to a very well-connected source.
Now they're saying that they have a very, very, very reliable source, right? Back at the medical examiner's office. And they haven't named who their actual source is, right? The LAPD came out. I don't know if it was the captain or the chief. They made their comments stating that Celeste Rivas was not actually frozen. And then TMZ came out and doubled down. So I'm trying to understand. I'm trying so hard to wrap my head around why, what's the importance of this whole back and forth, and why every mainstream media outlet has to be right the first time. I feel like everybody's rushing to kind of get all this information out, and I don't know if this is a way for them to kind of skew the public opinion, or if this is a way for one media outlet to regain the narrative in a particular party's favor, right? Let's continue watching this.
And they doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and sextupled down that the body was found in a partially frozen state. So there is a clear divide here between the information we're getting connected to the ME and the LAPD captain. I will tell you this, that there is a document that the medical examiner has where they wrote that they could not fingerprint Celeste because her fingers were waterlogged, which is interesting.
Waterlogged, you guys.
This is, a deep, deep mystery. Now, everything's on a security hold. As we told you over the weekend, we're told the medical examiner probably will not be able to determine a cause of death or manner of death because the body was in such a decomposed and bad state. So where we are right now is, even though the medical examiner has not determined cause of death, we are told and we have reported that LAPD is considering this a homicide. They're viewing David as a suspect, say there is an accomplice who helped dismember the body. And again, that's what we are told by multiple sources. And there is not going to be an arrest immediately.
But it's funny though, because TMZ, I mean, obviously they have sources everywhere, right? It's not a secret. TMZ basically has an inside scoop on every single facet of life, right? I remember back in 2009 when I was a nursing student and I was at UCLA Medical Center, and um, we were watching the news, and they were saying that a media outlet by the name of TMZ, and I don't remember, never remember hearing about them, but they had broken the case that, or they had broken the story that Michael Jackson had passed away. And I was like, who are these? Who is this media outlet, right? It was just weird because I was there at the hospital that day that Michael Jackson died, um, and it was just crazy because you never heard of TMZ before, and now they're reporting on every little thing, right? So and now they seem to be the ones who either are or are not the reliable source when it comes to the inside scoop.
Thing we're told. Now, what doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you think about it is if the body was not frozen, where was it between this? If the LAPD's theory is right, that David may have actually dismembered the body, and this is again a theory, he's not been charged or convicted of anything, but if the theory is that the body may have been dismembered in Santa Barbara County in the spring, what happened in May, June, July, and August with this body, where in September it's found in David's Tesla? So there are a lot of mysteries in this case, but that is the latest that we know.
Let me read these chats really quick. Let me see. Mollywood Kush said he knew she didn't live at the house for a while because the girls who did live there had stuff there. There was nothing of Celeste except the Build-A-Bear. Now, I don't know if that Build-A-Bear belonged to Celeste. Was it Celeste? I know the certificate belonged to Esmeralda. Mollywood said, I asked him where did she live when she was killed, and he said, I don't know. And when Mollywood, when you're talking about this person, who are you referring to? Are you referring to SF Investigates? Mollywood Kush says SF has always said she was unalived in spring, which most people thought, what the F? If you know from Twitter, you know he knows. Garrett said, hey, Flo, I wonder if both could be true. They didn't say never had been frozen. Maybe she had been frozen previously, then thawed and decomposed. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. I don't, at this point, I don't know what to believe. I feel like there's so much misinformation and misguidance on the reports that are coming out. And I think this is all done, in a controlled environment. I think this is the whole plan, right? The whole plan is to put out information to make you think otherwise, right? But which also makes me wonder, could there be some other people behind it? I mean, we do know it is a fact that Blair Burke, who is D4VD's attorney, has a really good friendship with Harvey, right? And somebody had pointed out before that if you watch this case, if you go back early on in this case and you really watch it from the beginning, you can kind of see when things kind of changed, right? And they had mentioned that when TMZ had made that statement that they received an anonymous report from somebody who gave them information, like an anonymous tip, who gave them information about who might potentially be in that trunk. And then from there, you can, like, it just feels like TMZ was, going out there and trying to control the narrative. And I think that was right after David had hired, his legal representation. So Garrett, yeah, could both be true. I mean, who do you believe more? Do you believe the medical examiner, or do you guys believe the LAPD at this point? Right, because the LAPD, um, I'm sure they're doing a lot in this investigation, which is why they've been so super silent about everything. Or do you believe the medical examiner's office, who's actually doing the hands-on, um, investigation on her actual body? And I know that there was a video that was on TMZ earlier today that they'd put out, and they were talking about they had asked a question if the medical examiner still had Celeste's body, which was weird because, to my understanding, they released her body back to the family way back um, in early October, if I'm not mistaken. Mollywood said he has a Twitter account. This is the first case he has been picked up by sort of true crime on YouTube. Mollywood, before it was just crime drama channels, but if you know him like have for 2 years, he is never wrong. Gold Digger says, Flojo, I went back and checked temps for LA weather from July, August, September, and the heat varied from 78 degrees to 100 degrees. 41 days from July 29th to September 8th equals a hot mess in the frunk. No, 100%. Yeah, again, August is known for being one of the hottest months in Los Angeles, at least, or during the summertime out here. So I don't doubt it. Um, but could she have been partially frozen? I don't know if that when they had discovered her body and they brought it in for examination, I don't think that her body was actually frozen. I think that upon the examination, maybe after microscopically looking at tissues, they may have been able to identify that the cells in her body may have been damaged, which is probably like an indication that the body could have reached very cold temperatures and maybe even froze maybe at some point. But I don't think that she was actually frozen when her body was discovered. Mollywood said, "Hold that thought, Flojo. How did they not know David was dating a minor? He was a supposed superstar." I mean, I think that's debatable, right? Depending on who you ask, because the majority of people that I've seen in all the group chats or the live streams, not a lot of people knew who D4VD was before this case, and if you did know about him, you were probably a Gen Zer um, who probably followed him on TikTok, right? Now, that's not to put anything past D4VD. Obviously, he's popular to a certain demographic, and obviously, he's reached a lot of people because you don't you don't get a billion views on Spotify or whatever music platform you have your music on if people don't like your music. So like I have to kind of go against what people say when they say David was a nobody, because for somebody to get a billion views, um, that's a lot of like A-list celebrity musical artists, are doing that. Like Taylor Swift's, um, Beyonce, and all those artists. Those are like the typical, and then maybe some K-pop artists. Um, and getting a billion streams is not an easy task, right? So I mean, the people at his record label, they definitely knew what they were doing, because they definitely, I mean, even at the time, were under the assumption that they struck gold. Let's see. Mark says, yes, was hot in those times you mentioned. No, absolutely. Gold Digger said, hey there, my friend Mark. And then if you guys haven't already, do me a favor and go follow Mark the Shark. This guy puts on marathon live streams, and he goes down deep into the deep end of the waters. And it's definitely a fun time in his chat. Go follow Mark the Shark. And I think he's gonna start doing some interrogation videos. So definitely follow his page if you haven't already. Me either. Play for words, perhaps. Mark said, Garrett, interesting. Garrett said, hey, Mark, sub to your channel. Absolutely. Right on. There you go. Um, Garrett lives in Texas, not far from David. How far are you from Homestead? Love the boots on the ground y'all are doing. Not me, not me yet. Mark, I'd love to join you. Especially if this case goes to trial. Oh man, I know a lot of people are going to be interested in going to that case. Mollywood said no, they released the body. She was buried. That's what they said. Then TMZ made this random weird comment today, and I know a lot of people caught that because when the person from TMZ asked, it really sounded like she knew that they had it, right? But she was just confirming. Gold Digger said, interesting because in the beginning they initially said the body was dismembered, but never said anything about being frozen. Yeah, I think when the medical examiner put their first report out, that they did say that, right? Or I don't think the medical examiner confirmed that it was dismembered. I think it may have been LA Times that put out the article that her body was dismembered, which brings up, a really good point. LA Times, they're a fairly credible source. They were the first ones to report that um, the body was dismembered, and um, 2 months later, we're recircling that very first article that they dropped. So, and they're saying that she was dismembered. Now, nowhere in the statement that Harvey put out today did he mention anything about the decapitation of the body. So I don't know if he is. I mean, we all know that TMZ is never going to backtrack on anything that they said because, in fact, they doubled down, right? And I think before today, everybody was just kind of wondering, like, oh my God, uh, TMZ was wrong. And are they going to backtrack? Are they going to apologize? Because LAPD came out and said that, they're wrong. And I guess it's never been seen before. So is TMZ going to come out and apologize and say that they're sorry for putting out fake information? No, right? No, absolutely not. What they did was they came out and they doubled down, right? They said, "Nah, f that. We are standing by what we said, and we are running with she was partially frozen." I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that they just doubled down because they're TMZ and they have a reputation to uphold? I think they did, but it's even Celeste had talent. Um, if that was Celeste on some of the songs that David has actually put out, yeah, she's got talent. And it sucks because we'll never be able to see what potential she could have had in becoming an artist. 45 minutes away from Homestead, that's actually not bad at all. Hollywood Kush said, "Oh, cool, you'll go live." I think if me and Mark, if we ever do a collab on a video, I think we definitely go live. Um, but I will say Mark doesn't reveal his face, so if anything, you probably just hear his voice in any of the videos that we do. So, you know, we, we got to keep Mark behind the scenes. Just we'll give him a microphone. Mark the footage. LOL. Gold Digger said yes. Flojo, my understanding is that he really did appeal to the younger generation, especially because he also had a huge anime following of people as well. Yeah, yeah, no, I mean he's definitely um I mean if you go to his social medias, right? It doesn't matter if it's Instagram or if it's TikTok. He's got millions of followers, right? And let's be honest, right? The kid has one hell of a story, right? From the day he started playing Fortnite, I mean, even up until now, right? Look at him. Um, he's got the hell of a story. It's really messed up that if he is guilty, it's really messed up that he really felt like he had the power over a 14-year-old girl to make her. Mollywood, I just read your comment. Wait, they buried an empty casket? I don't know. I don't know. If anybody can find that TMZ clip, let me know because I do want to play it, but I don't know if it's on. I don't know if it's on YouTube yet. Let me see. Let me see if we can find it. Uh, Actually, before we go and do that, um, Law and Crime put out a video today, And this is basically going over the LAPD fires back on the bogus claim of the frozen body found in David's Tesla. I haven't seen this video yet, so I want to watch it with you guys and I want to get your reactions on it. So we're going to go ahead and watch this first, and then if anybody can find that TMZ video of their live stream from this morning. It is, Whitney? It's on there? Okay, cool. It's on YouTube. Cool. We'll definitely check it out on the TMZ page. Whoop. Della Dang says this is getting out of hand. No, it totally is. And it sucks because I don't even know what to believe at this point. I don't know who to believe. I know a lot of people at this point are fed up with TMZ. But we can't sit and pretend like they don't have skin in the game, right? They know a lot of sources. They know a lot of the scoop going on, right? And it's not just in music; it's in every facet of life, every part of entertainment. But let's go ahead and get into this video. Whoops, and then we'll get your thoughts on it, you guys.
Continues. An LAPD official is pushing back on the claim that the body of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez was frozen and decapitated, while the LA County Medical Examiner's Office has confirmed there is a hold in place on any information coming out about what may have happened to her. There is a lot to break down. Let's get into it right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Real quick, I got to ask you something before we jump into all this. Have you ever left a meeting and thought to yourself, what did we just talk about for the last 30 minutes, hour? I've been there so many times. The good news is, so in the case where we do not currently have an announced cause or manner of death for the 14-year-old teenager from Lake Elsinore, California, who disappeared last year, whose body was apparently found in a bag in the trunk of a Tesla registered to singer David back in September out in the Hollywood Hills, there has been a lot of speculation on what happened to her, and a lot of confusion as to why the LA County Medical Examiner hasn't listed this information out yet. So the thought was that they're still waiting for toxicology reports, more information. It was listed as deferred. And then we go to the latest reporting from TMZ, which by...
So really quick, I know, Mark, you said in the comments, Whitney came up with a good theory about flushing out the leaker. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we know that TMZ has sources, right? We know that NBC Los Angeles, ABC 7, Fox, People, all these media outlets have they have their sources. Do you think that the medical examiner or the LAPD is leaking out information to see which media outlet is going to run and say it first? Could this just be a way to kind of throw off the media and the public, so then that way they can focus on the actual angle that they're really trying to focus on? What are your thoughts?
the way, I don't know, was maybe debunked? So it came out that sources close to the investigation told TMZ that Celeste's body was frozen, that it had actually been thawing out when it was found in the car, that she had been decapitated, that her limbs had been severed, cut into pieces, and whether that complicated knowing for sure what happened to her. Here's the problem. This just came out. An LAPD captain and commanding officer of the Robbery Homicide Division told People magazine, this isn't true. Quote, Celeste's body was not frozen. She was not decapitated. The whole frozen thing doesn't even make sense. Her body was in the car for weeks. Even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in the car, which there is no evidence to suggest she was, 5 or more weeks in the trunk of a car in sweltering heat in the middle of summer would not have resulted in a partially frozen body being discovered on September 8th. Now, Williams previously said that Celeste had been dead for at least several weeks. What is going on? And now we got to talk about what just happened, okay? This is real. The medical examiner's office has removed information from Celeste's case on its publicly available website. So according to a release from authorities yesterday, quote, at 10:54 a.m. on Friday, November 21st, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner received a court order initiated by the Los Angeles Police Department to place a security hold on medical examiner case number 2025-14252 Celeste Rivas Hernandez. No records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death and medical examiner report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. The department's mission is to have full transparency with the community by providing information about our cases to empower people to make changes that save lives. Since becoming the department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement request. The practice of security holds is virtually unheard of in other counties and has not been proven to improve outcomes in the legal system. We are dedicated to serving our community with full transparency. However, the law precludes us from doing so while the court order remains in this case. The department previously received a request for a security hold from the LAPD on this case on September 15th, 2025, which was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant the hold. The department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. For questions about the court order, timeline, and the law enforcement investigation into this death, you can contact the LAPD. Now, I will add this. LAPD Captain Mike.
And really quick, let me go back to that comment, right? Whitney said, either way, Harvey is going down, or the source is. Harvey is not one to go down with the ship. Absolutely. I think, I don't know. Can you imagine how he must have felt when the LAPD came out and then the internet went into a frenzy? I even remember seeing a Reddit post last night that said SF investigates 1 TMZ 0, or did it say LAPD 0? SF investigates 1 TMZ 0. I think that's what I remember seeing. Right?
Mike Bland told NBC4 Investigates, quote, "This is an ongoing RHD homicide case, Robbery Homicide Division, and the purpose of the court order is to ensure the LAPD receives information on this case from the medical examiner's office before the public does." Now, by the way, Steve Fisher, who we've had on this program before, the private investigator who was hired by the owner of that rental property that David was reportedly staying at, which was near where this abandoned Tesla with Celeste's body inside, where it was found and where it was towed. Again, someone we've had on this show numerous times to talk about his investigation. He wrote this on X, quote, "I appreciate the commitment to transparency by the LA County Medical Examiner's Office. They previously denied an LAPD request for a security hold on the case. Now, LAPD obtained a court order sealing the case. The timing of that, along with the wording of the news release from the medical examiner's office, leads me to believe a cause and manner of death have been determined in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and the ME's investigative and autopsy reports are completed." Is he right? Now, to couple that, something else I got to talk about. According to the LA Times, according to court documents that they reviewed, a detective has categorized this investigation as a, quote, "investigation into murder." Now, that is very significant because the LAPD previously indicated that there might not be a crime beyond concealment of a body. So this was paperwork in support of not releasing the ME's findings, which I just mentioned. And you had LAPD in support that again, right? That has categorized this investigation as a, quote,
this is
"investigation into murder."
This is
that is very significant,
not just a homicide,
because
but
the
a murder,
LAPD
right?
previously indicated that there might not be a crime beyond concealment of a body. So this was paperwork in support of not releasing the ME's findings, which I just mentioned. And you had LAPD Detective Joshua Byers, who said in a declaration that was filed that release of these autopsy findings could taint or jeopardize this apparent murder investigation. Quote, "Will reveal or tend to reveal the ongoing investigation and the integrity of the investigation, as well as the identity of witnesses and or informants who are cooperating with law enforcement and the content of the information they have provided, which could endanger the lives of witnesses and or compromise the investigation." And Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Craig Richmond granted the LAPD's request with respect to not releasing the ME's information. And by the way, last week, LAPD Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, who oversees the department's detective operations, said, quote, "Accountability is coming. Our RHD detectives have been working and not waiting for that decision by the medical examiner. They are going to get justice for Celeste Rivas. No one is off the table, including him," seemingly referring to David. Let me bring on right now a special guest to try to get some clarity about what all this means. I want to bring on Dr. Nada Rutherford, Richland County coroner here. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on. Let's start first off. What is a security hold, and how often do you see something like that?
It's very rare that we see a security hold, but usually when we see it, it means that there is very valuable and specific information about that cause of death and the manner of death that they do not want to release to the public. It means that there is something so unique about that death that they want to hold that information close to the chest so that they can still conduct their investigation without the public frenzy that they know will happen once they start releasing details. So whether that's drugs were found in the system, the way the body was found, they've said that she wasn't dismembered, but was there something else unique about the trauma that could have been associated with her body? They have something specific that they do not want the public to know right now. And in my humble opinion, as a person who
In my
works with
humble
law
opinion,
enforcement and as a coroner who does active investigations, if there's something very specific and we release that to the public, we could totally mess up the entire investigation. You could lose witnesses. They don't want to deal with whatever information was found. Right now, they are still doing an active investigation. And so if holding that information close to their chest is going to help them get justice for this potentially murdered 15-year-old, then I think that they should do it, and everyone should be in agreement with that.
So do you agree with Steve that right now the Emmy's office has definitively...
So hold on. What did she say? So
if there's something very specific and we release that to the public, we could totally mess up the entire investigation. You could lose.
which makes sense, right? I mean, if there was all this information that did come out, I'm sure, you know, there's absolutely every single possibility that that could mess with this investigation, right? I think Mark was talking about it in his live earlier today, that another reason why they're not putting out all this information yet and there's a security hold could be potentially to protect the witnesses, right? Protect the informants, right? Because at this point, I think it's obvious that we can assume, right? We can speculate, we can allege that there are people within David's camp that are actually talking, right? So people who David may have thought were his friends may actually be on the other side now, and the reason why is because I'm sure, you know, the first person to crack, the first person to talk, they're probably, oops, hold on, that isn't, we're not watching that. The first person to crack or to talk will probably get maybe they'll cut a deal with them, right? Maybe they'll cut them a deal, maybe reduce any kind of charges, maybe even potentially drop any charges that were coming their way. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense why they're holding information. But again, she did say that it's very unusual for the medical examiner to hold information.
Lose witnesses. They don't want to deal with whatever information was found. Right now, they are still doing an active investigation. And so if holding that information close to their chest is going to help them get justice for this potentially murdered 15-year-old, then I think that they should do it, and everyone should be in agreement with that.
So do you agree with Steve that right now the Emmy's office has definitively a cause and manner of death for Celeste Rivas Hernandez?
I do believe they know what her cause and manner of death are at this point. And the fact that they have pushed for this hold so hard, they denied the first one, and then they went back again.
What did you make of that? The fact that they requested it all the way back September 15th, 7 days after her body was found.
They want to keep information close to them for this investigation. You have to think about this. You have someone who's a celebrity. You have someone who has money, power, resources, and the people around that person also have money, power, and resources. So how do you infiltrate and penetrate all of those things if you are giving all of the information to the public? I'm all for transparency, but gosh, we want to know what happened to her, and the people doing the investigation should have that information first before the public gets it and tears it up.
And just to be clear, if we take all this as true, if it was denied all the way back in September, there's a possibility, would I be totally wrong by saying maybe they didn't have the cause and manner of death yet? Maybe it was too premature. Maybe it was too early for the LAPD to request that no information be shared. But now the ME's office may have cause and manner of death and the whole situation has changed. And maybe you're right. There's something in there that they say this is going to taint the investigation. So do you think that my timeline might be right there?
Oh, absolutely. And here's the other thing. When you have a body that is decomposed, it takes longer to get that cause and manner of death. The body is breaking down. It is literally liquefying. You've got a car found in a hot area encased in metal, and the body is going to break down even faster. Whether she was frozen, not frozen, you put a body out in the heat, it's going to decompose. And we don't know how this body exactly was found. Was it found encased in plastic? Was it found inside of a suitcase?
And we still don't know, right? I know that there are photos. There's aerial footage of when that front was open, and you can see that body hanging halfway out of the car, right? And we can make assumptions and speculation as to what the body was in. I think the only thing that we can determine at this point by looking at the photos is that it was a black bag. Now, what type of black bag was it? None of us know. I know that Mark the Shark and his team of sharks are we assume that it's a garment bag, right? Or it could have been that black tarp that David was making those bloody shirts on. But at this point, we don't know. And then we do know that Matt Thibodeau came out with a video on TikTok and said that somebody at the tow yard or somebody close to the medical examiner's office, I don't remember who it was, stated that she was placed in a viscera bag. And a viscera bag is a thick bag that they use to transport organs and stuff. And that's normally like a clear bag. But I don't know. I mean, at this point, none of us know, right? But we do know that there was a black bag when that front was open and her body was discovered.
How was the body found? How was it dressed? How was it draped or clothed? All of those things become so important. This girl's been missing for a year before her body was discovered.
And there have been reports about when her last known sighting was. I will get into a second when it seems authorities believe she might have died. Put that to the side for a second. You mentioned something very important here. This back and forth on freezing. I said this in our episode yesterday. If this reporting is true, not true, how distressing this must be for the family to hear something like this. But I have to tell you, when I was doing the episode, I was like, it doesn't make sense that the body was found thawing. It was in a hot car. When would a frozen body been transferred? It seems that when the car was parked there, the body was already inside. So the fact that you have, it's very hard to get definitive information in this case. And yes, there's speculation and sources say this, but this idea of the body being frozen and thawing out, I gotta say, I'm not surprised that it's been debunked, or seemingly debunked.
Here's the thing. The medical examiner knows exactly how that body was presented to them and to that office. So even if, let's say she was frozen, let's say they're trying to throw us off by saying, oh, that wasn't the case. Her body would be well preserved had it been frozen, and you would actually have more of a whole body in front of you. So if she was thawing in the car, yes, she's going to decompose and the rate of decomposition is going to be what it is. But if she was frozen and then put in the car, like let's say she was stored someplace, we've had cases like this here in our county where someone was in a deep freezer for years and then the body started to decompose once the power was cut off to that site. So the idea of her body being frozen and thawing, it's a very real possibility. But that ME's report, that autopsy report, how that body was found and that determination of how long she could have possibly been dead, they have so many things that they can utilize, from bug activity to looking at just how much of her body had decomposed. Was there parts of her body that were mummified? Was she left someplace and then frozen? You would see decomposition even in that. So there's a lot that the medical examiner's report is going to have in it.
Do you think, based on what I just read to you, this hold, do you think there's a possibility that it's undetermined? They can't tell exactly what happened to her, or does that seem unlikely? Because if it was undetermined, why not release that information unless they believe this would cause an uproar. How could you not know what happened? There's obviously there's a number of reasons why that could be, and please elaborate on them. But do you think it's maybe unlikely that the cause of death, the manner of death, is undetermined?
It's a possibility. You have five manners of death to choose from: natural, accidental, suicide, homicide, and undetermined. Those are the five manners of death. And so when you get to undetermined, it means that all of the other manners of death are equally likely and you cannot make a determination. And so
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that there were five.
again, you get to undetermined.
Maybe unlikely
Let's
that the
listen to that
cause
again,
of
you
death,
guys.
the manner of death, is undetermined.
It's a possibility. You have five manners of death to choose from: natural, accidental, suicide, homicide, and undetermined. Those are the five manners of death. And so when you get to undetermined, it means that all of the other manners of death are equally likely and you cannot make a determination. And so again, the state that her body was in is going to be very, very important. If there are any organs that they can look at, can they look at her liver? Can they look at her kidneys? Are her eyes intact enough to be able to pull vitreous out, to be able to determine if there's any, blood or a chemical that's in her system that has kind of been able to be maintained in that vitreous fluid? What other things are present? And so what I hear when I'm reading all of this and I'm hearing all these different reports, they know something and they are trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together for a clearer picture.
What did you make of that response from the chief medical examiner regarding the security hold? My interpretation is there's a bit of resistance here, right? There's a bit of
Yes.
resistance. And that was a statement to make there. What'd you make of that?
So I think he's frustrated. I think he's saying, I want to release this information, but they're telling me that I cannot do it. I think he just really wants his hands out of it, because once they make their determination and it goes to court, he can talk about his findings and explain everything. But I'm sure his office is getting railed with the number of phone calls, requests that are coming in from the media outlets, the community outcry from all of this. So I think it's probably more of a resistance, like, please let us go ahead and release this so that we can get back to all of the thousands of other cases that we have coming through that office.
The line, to empower people to make changes that save lives, does that indicate something about what might have happened to Celeste?
Here's what I take from that. This girl was, and not that she deserved to die. So I am not saying that. You have a 15-year-old with a history of running away. You have a 15-year-old who maybe was getting into some trouble, and maybe they want to release information that will be a cautionary tale to some of the other children in that area who may be runaways, who may be rebelling against their parents or the homes that they're growing up in. So maybe that's what he means. But what I took from his statement was that he wants the public to know what happened, but he also has to follow the court order. So I certainly don't feel like he's trying to be combative in his response, but he certainly wants to release the information.
And based on everything that's come out now, at this point in time, does it seem to you that Celeste was murdered?
This is smelling a lot like a homicide. It's smelling a lot like a homicide. It does not seem like a natural death. Could it be accidental? Sure. Could it be self-inflicted? Sure. But it's smelling a lot like a homicide.
It was reported that LAPD may be considering David a suspect, and that there is potentially a second suspect as well. TMZ reporting about this trip that the singer allegedly took to a remote area in Santa Barbara in the spring. And you had an LAPD official not authorized to speak publicly about the investigation, but apparently told NBC4 Investigates that Celeste potentially died in the spring. What do you make of that potential time?
Hold on. I just have to stop by and give a shout out to Rabbit from Down the Rabbit Hole News, stopping by to show some love. Damn, right back at you, Rabbit. Appreciate the love. Thank you for stopping by. And if you guys haven't already, go follow Down the Rabbit Hole News. It's where I'm at every morning too. So she's covering every single case out there. I don't know how you have the time to cover all of these cases. I barely even have time just to cover this. But if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys stop by her page, Down the Rabbit Hole News, and give her a like and tell her that FloJo sent you.
Of death, and what do you make of who potentially could be involved in disposing of her body in whatever way her body was ultimately disposed of.
So if her last known moments are to be in the spring, then it would make a whole lot of sense that her body was preserved to the point that they had a smelling, rotting body in a car decomposing. That would make a lot of sense. This is why I keep going back to this. Again, I know they've said, oh, they've debunked this rumor. No, you really haven't, in my opinion, because all it takes is a person who can read through all of these different reports and all these different accounts. If she was there and all of a sudden she wasn't, where was she? The people who were with her should know where she was, and they should be able to give an account as to where she may have been. Was he hiding her out? Did something happen? He's with another person on this trip. Was it just him and Celeste? Who were the people who last saw Celeste alive? And it's going to take people knocking on doors.
Not only that though, but I mean, like, after she was discovered, or even before that, if you were truly innocent and you had absolutely nothing to do with it, how were you not looking for her, right? This girl, people are saying that she was your muse, right? She was your inspiration for all of your music. When she was gone or missing, how were you not looking for her? Right? That's the part that baffles me the most. It blows my mind, that there was not a care in the world. And I do remember reading somewhere on Reddit, right, that somebody did say that if David actually did this, if he truly actually did this, and he had help with an accomplice, he knew that he had so much time on his hands because he knew that nobody was looking for her. And that hurt to read, right? Because that was just him, just telling the world that I'm going to do it. I'm going to get away with it because not a single person, not even her family, is looking for her. And that really hurt. That really struck a chord with me when I read that.
Asking questions and trying to appeal to their human nature to say what happened to this 15-year-old kid. She's not a young adult at this point. She is a child who is around adults who may have wanted to do her harm for whatever the reasons may be.
Here's the million-dollar question. How long does this court order last, if you know, in your experience? Because here's the bottom question. When do you think we will all get answers as to the cause and manner of death? When will that be released? How long will the court order be in place for? Will there be an arrest first and then it be lifted? In your experience, what can we anticipate there?
In my experience, usually there's an arrest and then they release information. So It's one of those things where they want to have all of their ducks in a row and then share with the public how they came to make the arrest that they made, which makes a lot of sense from an investigative standpoint. But from a public interest standpoint, it's like, who may have done this to her? And is there cause for community concern? Is there someone going around snatching 15-year-olds who may have a little bit of trouble in their past, luring them away from their homes or luring them away from whatever safe place they're in and killing them? So I think there is a definite reason for public interest in this case, outside of just the sensationalism that you have a wealthy, star singer who may have been involved in this. But what other information does the public need to know? And is this something that can be used as a cautionary tale for students who may be in the same situation?
I ask every guest this, and I hope you can provide some light on it as well. Is Celeste's family going to be notified first about cause and manner of death before anybody else? I know this is a sensitive investigation, but given how high profile this is, how many different theories there are, should they be notified? Do they think they have the information right now? What would you think best practices are?
To me, the family should know first. In my investigations, before I do a press conference, before I do a news release, I sit down and I talk with that family, whether it's via phone, whether it's in person. I always speak to them and say, hey, here's the cause of death. Here's the manner of death. Here's the information that I'm going to release to the media. I want to give you a heads up that these are the things that will be said so that you are hearing them firsthand from me and not from a media outlet. And to me, that gives respect not only to the decedent, the person who's died, but also to the family and the grief that they are having to endure.
Dr. Nita Rutherford, I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for giving your perspective on this as we try to navigate What is true? What are the answers? What can we expect? This is a unique case. I mean, there's whiplash right now, back and forth. And my thoughts, my prayers are with the family right now. This is a very difficult journey for them to navigate. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's all.
Wow. What did you guys think of this? This is the first time that I'm watching this. Maybe it's the first time for some of you guys. I know it was just posted a couple of hours ago. This has got to be one of the most informative, interviews that he's done, and all the guests that Jesse Weber has on his show do a fantastic job. But I just feel like, what was she? Was she a medical examiner? I must have missed that. But I just thought her commentary was really helpful, right? I think anybody who doesn't really understand that side of things just kind of got a quick understanding as to, what it's really like and what steps that, a medical examiner should really take in order to ensure the integrity of the case. Let me just go back to the chats really quick and catch up. Gold Digger said, right, Flojo, if she was missing, why didn't he look for her? Yeah, no, absolutely. Why didn't he? Right? I mean, to me, that just screams guilty, right? But who am I? I'm nobody. What do I know? Right? Garrett says, playing in people's faces is beyond sad. Whitney said, why can't they get him now, have him in custody, and then follow up with more charges later? Why does this case need to be this perfect by the book play? Why? I mean, this is just a really high profile case, in my opinion. And I think that, the LAPD has a really long history of taking high profile cases. And the one that comes to mind is the O.J. Simpson trial, right? I think that they need to make sure that they have every single piece of evidence. In the book, they need to make sure that every story, corroborates. And that when they do take this case to trial, if it ever does go to trial, and I hope that, all of you guys are praying that it does, that it would be a slam dunk case. I know it's not going to be easy, and I'm sure that David is going to hire one hell of a team for his defense. We know that he already has Blair Burke, and she is a mega attorney who's, fought for people like Bruno Mars, CeeLo Green, Harvey Weinstein, some of which are in jail now, but I know that he's going to have one hell of a team. And I'm sure, who knows, maybe Interscope might invest a little bit of money to ensure that their names doesn't get put into this trial. Who knows? Kalohi, what up, Kalohi? Welcome. Nice to hear from an actual pro instead of TMZ vultures. Agreed. Garrett said, legally, they can still sue and get assets due to the timing of when he transferred his assets. Hope her family is suing him. I think it's coming. And I think that we can all see that, right? I know that the day that the search warrant was served, September 18th, was the same day that David transferred the deeds, right? The property that he had in Texas into his mother's name. And then we do know that I think 4 days later, on September 22nd, he transferred another property into his mother's name. So you don't just do that, because you're not on tour anymore, right? I think, it was a move, a play, a calculated play. And let's not undermine the fact that, he's got a lot of smart people in his life, including his parents, right? His mom's a notarizer. His dad is a litigation consultant, and Mark did a deep dive on the dad one night, and the things that we explored and learned about him, kind of crazy. Maybe I'll have Mark on here one time to kind of review and go over that again. But yeah, that was a crazy deep dive. So, who's to say that he didn't get his parents advice on what to do to protect himself in the event that, there's a civil lawsuit pending. I don't know. Who's to say that there isn't one coming, right? Let's see. Is there anything new out there? Does anybody have any articles? Let's see. I know that SF Investigates said, he put out a tweet earlier. What did he say? I don't know if he's talking about this case, but he did say that he was going to be on Court TV. Did anybody happen to watch that? He said that he was, 4 hours ago, he said that I'll be live on Court TV in 10 minutes to discuss a few different cases. Okay, so maybe he didn't talk about the D4VD case. Not sure. Let me refresh, though, see if he has anything new. Nope, nothing new. Do I have anything? Let's run through these really quick. LA Times put out the article. Did we read this one? I don't think we did read this one, huh? Here, we'll read this because I don't think we read this earlier. But this this article was this was posted yesterday at 5:08 p.m. Molly Wood said the modern day OJ. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he's definitely, this case could definitely be the modern day OJ, 100%. Let me read this. I don't know if we read this earlier. For the first time since the Los Angeles police began investigating the gruesome discovery of a dead girl. Hold on, let me turn down my mic. Dead girl's body in the trunk of singer D4VD's Tesla, detective has characterized the probe as an investigation into murder, according to court documents. Seeking to prevent the release of autopsy findings, the Los Angeles police detective told a court recently that the publication of details surrounding the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez could jeopardize the investigation, according to court documents. LAPD Detective Joshua Byers, a veteran of the Elite Robbery Homicide Division, filed a declaration on Friday that described the probe as a murder investigation, according to court documents reviewed by The Times. Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Craig Richmond granted the LAPD's request and ordered that the medical examiner's findings be sealed. Up until recently, investigators have reportedly declined to say whether they are calling the girl's death a homicide and have said that they are waiting for the conclusion of the County of Los Angeles medical examiner. Detectives discovered the girl's badly decomposed remains at a Hollywood tow yard on September 8th. The performer's Tesla had been towed from a street on Bluebird Avenue, right, in the Hollywood Hills after having been abandoned for weeks. In his court declaration, Byers said that making autopsy findings public will reveal or tend to reveal the ongoing investigation and the integrity of the investigation, as well as the identity of witnesses and or informants. Let me read that again. Byers said that making autopsy findings public will reveal or tend to reveal the ongoing investigation and the integrity of the investigation, as well as the identity of witnesses and or informants who are cooperating with law enforcement, and the content of the information they have provided, which could endanger the lives of witnesses and or compromise the investigation. So this right here is telling me that people are already talking, right? There's absolutely no way that I don't believe that nobody in Davis camp is talking. They're absolutely talking. I'm going to go to Court TV and pull up an old reel that I saw. This was posted in September, and I think I've reviewed this once before on my page. And even back in September, they were saying that there are people close to David's camp that have told law enforcement that they are aware that Celeste and David were in a romantic relationship, right? I'll look for that video after. The judge ordered that the declaration supporting documents and the court order itself be sealed and maintained in a secure location in the custody of the clerk of court until further order of this court document said. In a prepared statement Monday, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office said that it has received a court order initiated by the LAPD to place a security hold on the case number for Celeste Rivas. According to medical examiner, the order barred the release of all details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death and medical examiner report. In Monday's statement, Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Ode Ukpo seemed to question the wisdom of sealing his department's findings. Again, for the third time, I think, since becoming the department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement request. He continued to read. We've already gone over that. And this is something that I didn't know before, but it says that the LAPD had first requested a security hold on the case on September 15th, which is a week after the body was discovered. That request was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant that hold, according to the coroner's statement. The department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted, the examiner's office said. In reply to the medical examiner's announcements, LAPD Captain Mike Bland said, this remains an ongoing investigation by RHD, and the purpose of this court order is to ensure LAPD receives information before the public does. The girl's, her name is Celeste. Celeste's remains were found inside a black bag in the trunk of the multi-platinum musician's Tesla. The girl's body weighed 71 pounds. That's crazy to me. That blows my mind that she only weighed 71 pounds. Right, and had a shush tattoo on her finger. Celeste's body was found. Her body was found the day after her 15th birthday, right? And now what grinded my gears was that very early on in this case, knowing that she was found on September 8th, you know, they kept referring to her as a 15-year-old, right? But she was 14 when she died. And it took them forever to correct that. LAPD RHD determined that the Tesla had been left parked along Bluebird Avenue. Okay. A fresh Gen Z voice. David has appeared in music videos filled with murderous themes. In one part of the video, a young woman with an apparent chest wound lies on a bed as the singer hovers over her, blindfolded. His white shirt splattered with blood, and then in another video, One More Dance, David drags a person who bears the singer's likeness to a car where a couple stuffs the person into a trunk. And on my last live, we reviewed that music video, but unfortunately, that entire segment, we didn't even play the audio. We just played it on mute. But yeah, that entire segment was flagged and struck for copyright, so I did remove it, so you're not going to be able to see it. But in the last live, if you guys haven't seen that music video for One More Dance, I do highly suggest that you guys watch it. I know we don't want to support him, but that music video, it just, to me, it just reminds me of this entire case. And I don't know, I feel like that video is so telling. Also reminds me that there's another video that David has out there where he's talking about his 2 albums. And he was basically saying that Petals to Thorns was what he wanted his life to be, or something like that. And Withered, he said that Withered is his actual life. That whole album is his actual life. If somebody can find that video, that link, please send it to me. My email's right there down at the bottom, flojotv@gmail.com. So if you guys find it, please send it to me. All right. I do want to show you that one short. Let me see if we can find it. We're going to have to just scroll and scroll and scroll. It's with her in it. So if you guys see D4VD, by the time I scroll down, tell me to stop. Okay, so if you guys have seen me in anybody's live, you guys have heard me probably say this quote by Agatha Christie that she's about to repeat, but she says, "One coincidence is just a coincidence. 2 coincidences, I don't even remember, right? And then she says 3 coincidences is proof."
Agatha Christie famously said, "One coincidence is just a coincidence. 2 coincidences are a clue. And 3 coincidences are proof." So let's talk about the coincidences in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, found dead in the trunk of singer David's abandoned Tesla. Her mother confirms that she had a boyfriend named David. David wrote an unreleased song titled Celeste. Both David and Celeste have a tattoo, same exact one, of the word shh on their right index fingers. Now, although David lived in Los Angeles, there is a photo of him less than a half a mile from the home that Celeste ran away from. And in his music video for his song One More Dance, which was released just in February, David is dragging a body and hiding it in a trunk. So are all those coincidences a proof, as Agatha Christie calls it? Well, TMZ is reporting that friends of David's have confirmed to them that David and Celeste were in fact in a romantic relationship.
Did you guys get that? Hold on,
And
hold
these
on,
friends
hold on,
all-
hold on 1 second. Do you guys hear that? This was posted. When was this posted? We'll take a look later. I feel if I click on something, it's gonna go away. There you go. This was posted September 30th. So this was posted a while ago, you guys.
Are all those coincidences a proof, as Agatha Christie calls it? Well, TMZ is reporting that friends of David's have confirmed to them. Well, TMZ is reporting that friends of David's have confirmed to them that David and Celeste were in fact in a romantic relationship. And these friends also say to TMZ that they thought that she was 19. Nope. How about 14? She was 14 when she was killed. That is a minor child. And it's possible that she met David when she was even younger than that, possibly 12 or 13. Now, just based on that information alone, David Burke better hire a very good lawyer.
Which he has.
And if he killed Celeste Rivas Hernandez, or if he hid her dead body in his Tesla, he better pray that Johnny Cochran and F. Lee Bailey come back from the dead, because he is gonna need them. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
So what do you guys think? I want to know down in the chat, what is the timeline of when you think we are going to see an arrest? Because this whole past week, we've seen things kind of move pretty fast, right? We've seen people or media outlets go back and forth. We've seen police departments, dispelling rumors. We've seen media outlets come back and doubling down. And then we see medical records get privated, placed on security holds. Do you guys think that we are close to getting a resolution and, closing in on whoever may be responsible for this horrendous act on a 14-year-old girl, Celeste Rivas Hernandez? I want to know what you guys think in the chat. Been on for an hour and 45 minutes. There's other than that, there's really nothing new that's come out. If you guys have anything that you guys want to share, please send it to me down, at the email flojotv@gmail.com. I'm not gonna lie, I'm all over this case and I'm all over the Reddits. So, but if you find something before I do, please send it to me, right? Because I know the moment that I find something, I'm sharing it to everybody. Shout outs to Rabbit for stopping by the live. I totally didn't expect that to happen. Shout out to Mark the Shark and the Shark family, who's been showing their love and support in this chat for a small, itty bitty, tiny channel who's just, trying to just come out here and just, share whatever information that I have. Shout out to the Shark family. And if you guys haven't already, go to Mark the Shark's page. I'll put his link. I'll put his link down in the chat, but I do got to find it first. Let me find it first. Or Mark, if you have your link ready to go, just drop it down in the chat. I can't leave without showing him love too, though, because he's always shown me and my channel love. So I'm going to find his channel really quick. I'm going to drop it in the chat for all of you guys. Did somebody beat me to it yet? And then let me drop another one. Shout out to Rabbit. That was awesome. So there, I'll highlight Marks right there. And then I will highlight Rabbits. Anyways, that's going to be it for me tonight, you guys. If there are any other cases you guys want me to cover, drop it down in the chat. I don't know when I'm going to do live again. I'll probably be in Mark's 8-hour live tomorrow. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, hit me up. You can find me on all the social medias down there at the bottom. You can find me everywhere, Flojo. But yeah, that's going to be it for me tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out. Let me just give a shout out to everybody who's stopped by. The Boss B, thank you. All the way from Rabbit's channel, right? So shout out to you. Oh, that was loud. Who do we have? Who else do we have? We have Felicia, Patty's Cheeks. Okay. Who else do we have? Gold Digger, Whitney, Felicia, the Boss B, Jad, Dubs, Kalohi. I'm dropping horns for all of y'all. Thank you guys for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. Who knows when I'll come back and do another video. But that's going to be it for me. I'll see you guys another time. Good night.